we start with a founding story. But before that, could you introduce yourself a bit, both of you? So,
yes, I'm Arthur Jew. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Live Freely with my brother.
Thank you.
Hi, and I'm Daniel. I am the co-founder and CTO of Live Freely.
Sounds great. Your brothers.
He's the older one.
How long have you been working together?
Oh, for a long time now. Really, our work started before we even came together and formed the business, but really in concept development mode for our business. We worked very closely together.
So maybe it relates to your founding story. Maybe the similar both of you. Why did you start your business?
I remember our story very vividly. For me, the exact day that the journey began was Valentine's Day 2009, when my father and my mother were going to an event they never missed. It was a dinner. And then my father turned to me and he said, "I'm feeling tired. I'm going to go lie down. Why don't you take Mom to the event?" And I said, "You never missed this event. Maybe you should get checked up." And he said, "No, I'm going to go lie down. You take her before it's too late and you're late." And so 2 hours later, we come back and he couldn't get out of bed. So something was very wrong. And I remember picking him out of bed, taking him down the stairs. He was very heavy, getting him into the car, taking him to the hospital to find out he was in the middle of having a stroke. And that was sort of a first aha for me, was how could I have known sooner that he was having a stroke and gotten him help sooner? And when he was in the hospital, Mom said, "Oh, let's go home and get some toothbrush, toothpaste, come back, stay with him overnight." And so we went home, and as soon as we walked in the door, the phone rang, and it was my dad on the other side of the phone yelling, "Help, help, help." And my mom said, "Why is he yelling help? He's already in the hospital." So something's wrong. We dropped everything, went back to the hospital, walked into his room, and found him on the floor. He had fallen out of bed. His gown, hospital gown, had come off him, but he was still holding the phone, flailing around, trying to get up in the middle of his stroke, and nobody in the hospital knew about it. And so that was the second thing, is how could we have known that he had fallen out of bed and got him help sooner? And that evening began a series, 7 years of caregiving. And my mother passed away into that, as caregivers often do. And we found that there were all kinds of experiences that exposed a lot of gaps in the healthcare system and caregiving. And along the way, Daniel came back. He was overseas, came back to help with caregiving. And Dad was a dementia wanderer. We tried caregivers, but one of them burned down our kitchen cooking and left him inside. We had to go get him out and things. It was a very difficult experience. And from that, we learned a lot about the needs in the caregiving system. And so when he passed away in 2016, Daniel and I were sitting down, just kind of recovering from the whole experience. And we came up with a lot of different things that we could have used technology to help us in the caregiving process. And that launched us in looking in the path of looking at what we could do to create some of the things. Since we've been in technology our whole careers, how could we help create this so that other people wouldn't have to go through what we've went through? And that helped us come up with some really interesting features and functions that leverage the ability to become really jump leapfrog over all the technology in the marketplace to what we have today.
So the whole experience with your father and mother made you create Live Freely and the body, right? And, I'm curious about it. There's a lot of things. So at first, how to detect the person is not good feeling, and then also a lot for foreign, and also the support for caregiving. So what part of these things did you start to create?
Well, we said there were five functions to begin with, and maybe you can kind of explain them, Daniel. I'll let Daniel, he's the CTO, explain our functions. But we picked 5 of them that were really, we thought, the most need in the space.
We really started with falls first. The reason why is the number one cause of injury and death in the household is falls. And so we said, there's a lot of old technology in this area around falls. Back in the 1960s was the very first time they had a technology where you put a pendant around your neck and you push a button because I fall and I can't get up, and you push the button. Since the 60s till now, till about 2017, 18, none of that had actually changed. Philips Life Alert was the one that was the most popular at the time and was still making over $700 million a year on that old technology. And so we said, this is the 21st century. We got to bring that up to something new. And we started working with different wearable devices and other things to try to figure out around fall detection first. And we actually were able to create a fall detection algorithm that is much, much better than anything that was actually out there. Majority of the fall detection algorithms are what we call impact-based. You need a lot of acceleration and force in order for the detection to happen. We actually created an algorithm using a force sensor that's in a lot of the wearables to be able to detect things that was 99.9% sensitive and accurate. So we could tell the difference between somebody trying to sit down really hard in the chair, which is not a fall, and somebody trying to just get up from a chair, but they slide down. And that's a fall because they can't get back up, but there's no impact and there's no acceleration. And so we were able to really get down the number of false positives that happen, which really helped us at that time to make that leap from old technology to new technology.
So I just want to ask you, there's a lot of difference with the old technology like this. I feel amazed they created the 700 million new startups. So what is your findings through these observations? So there's old technology and new technology. What is your findings, and what is the challenge for you at the first stage of your product?
What we found was that detecting falls is good, and we were able to make it where we were the first app to integrate with 911 and send real-time data to the ambulance and make sure that everyone had the peace of mind that if something happened to your senior or loved one, help was going to come. But that wasn't really going to help change a way a person ages. And so what we wanted to do was go beyond that to predict and prevent things from happening. And so we found that detection is only part of what we need to do. We have to go into predicting and preventing even a fall from happening. Because once our loved one falls, usually the damage is already done. So can we predict and prevent that fall from even happening, which would save the senior and our loved one the pain and hassle of that happening, but also our own healthcare system from having that person enter into the healthcare system and the cost behind that. And so that's really where we started to focus on, and that's where we are now, is really in that sweet spot of predicting and preventing and moving the healthcare system from a reactive system to a predictive and preventative system.
Just it's really relates to the proactive healthcare.
And that's our biggest motto is proactive aging.
Mm-hmm. Proactive aging.
You asked about what were some of the challenges that we faced entering into this space, and they weren't really technical as much as they were mindset. We had a great technical team, really had a good vision of what we wanted to accomplish, but it was all the naysayers that back in that time, they said it couldn't be done. Literally we had really smart technical people say it couldn't be done. And so when you say something can't be done, that just gets us motivated more to get it done. And so our team really went to work and made that happen. And then the second thing were all the objections about the market won't adopt it. The senior market won't use that. Well, as we know today, seniors are the fastest segment adopting technology. And we had a little bit of help from COVID along the way, because when COVID came and everybody was, sequestered in the senior living centers, they realized the benefits of technology and staying connected with their loved ones. And so that really, I think, helps speed up adoption as well. And there's always going to be a segment of people that of any product, any technology that will not use the technology. But we found that seniors are readily wanting to use the technology, especially as they see the benefits in helping them have better lives, have greater well-being, and caregivers having peace of mind and connectedness with their families. It's been really a great thing. So, yeah.
So at this point of beginning your businesses, so you start with the Apple Watch, right? So you are creating the body at the app, right? So there's a few persons who wear the Apple Watches, right? So it's a piece of challenge of that, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. When we first started, especially in the senior market, Apple Watch or Fitbit or any of the wearables was less than 1% of the seniors would have that. But now it's around 20 to 25%. So you mentioned one of the challenges when we went to go pitch to a VC, they're like, well, only 1% uses it. But we're like, no, I think the adoption is going to go higher and it's going to go up, and we want to ride that wave. And that's what we've seen now. In fact, a person came up and said, well, only 25% of the seniors use it now. I was like, well, when we started, only 1% used it. So, it is going up. And we think that as technology gets better, more and more people will adopt. We also wanted to stay away from the actual hardware design of things. So the watch is not the best form factor for doing this. Now there's rings and there's all these other different things out there. We stayed more towards the software side, and we can integrate with any wearable or sensors out there. In fact, there's a team out in a great university out there that's creating a Band-Aid kind of patch that you put on that's actually more powerful than an Apple Watch. So and we can integrate with whatever's out there. So our stuff works with, you mentioned Apple Watch, Fitbit, Samsung Galaxy, Pixel One, all the different brands out there, and we're not set to just one kind of hardware device.
That's very interesting. So as the ring user, so it can be with this in the future.
Yep.
Oh, that's very interesting.
Yeah, as long as it has the right sensors, we can integrate with it.
Cool. And also, I'm curious about there's several functions on your app. So what is the most used for the people?
The most used is actually the one they don't know about. It runs in the background, and we call it irregular health patterns. So we collect all sorts of data from a person. Their gait, their heart rate, the medications they're taking, blood pressure, glucose, all sorts of stuff. And we put that all together to create a baseline around a person. And when they deviate from that baseline, they get an alert. And so, for instance, one of our users, every day at 10 a.m., his heart rate was spiking. And we knew that he was taking his medication at 10 a.m. So it sounded an alert saying, hey, you should get checked out by your doctor and show him this data. The doctor looked at it and said, oh, your dose is too high. And so they were able to titrate him down to a lower dosage and make it better for his body. That would have never been found out any other way than through our buddy system and our app. So through that remote monitoring and that passive kind of getting all that data and having our AI algorithm engine interject itself really helps to create better longevity for that person.
One of my favorite functions also is because our dad was a wanderer, dementia wanderer, is the boundary alerts feature. And we don't just have one boundary alert, we can have multiple boundary alerts. So you can follow a person as they go into one area, out of area. You can tell if they should have been in an area and are not getting there. A lot of times caregivers will take a patient out and leave them there or something, and so you can actually know where they are at that time and really help a dementia patient outside of the bounds of their own home.
It's amazing. So the first case, so people can, so user can know, I'm not good or I need to care. Right? And also it's connected caregiver or healthcare system, doctors directly. We can connect with this.
You can connect all this information to your healthcare provider if you want to. It's all self-contained too, so you can bring it to them and show it to them. When we started doing the app, we actually spoke to a lot of doctors, and we have a chief medical officer. And they were saying, we don't want all this information because we get so much of it and we have so many patients. But when we want it, we need it, and we want it at that point. And so that's what we created, was a system in which all the information is there and accessible when you need it, not before and not later. And so it's when it's there when the healthcare provider needs it, when the caregiver needs it, or when the caregiver needs it.
That makes sense. And also, slide to the business cases. So I imagine so user is elderly person, but recently so your focus may change to the includes a B2B. So I want to know more about that. So in the B2B scene, so it's not only for elderly person. There's a lot of employee who is young or who is 30s, 40s. So how do you evolve your business plan or your technology to this?
Yes, our business plan, as you talked about, we started out for seniors, but now we're taking care of the whole range, the life cycle of aging, because aging doesn't just start when you become an elderly, it starts when you're born. And so our premise has been to really cater to the needs of the full life cycle of aging. And that's kind of evolved from we started working with senior centers and so forth, and that was a natural market. Then, COVID hit, and the senior centers were really focused on just keep our seniors here. They weren't focusing on differentiating or offering greater value. Just keep them here, not from leaving. And so we said, all right, well, then we started going out to the consumers themselves, and we got a good population of consumers, and they started asking their insurance companies here, well, will you help underwrite this? And insurance companies said, well, they got curious, what is this technology? And then we found out that working with the insurance, B2B, B2B2C, was a strategy that enabled us to be distributed to wider populations faster. And so that became our strategy from that perspective, getting out to market. And of course, insurance companies have all types of users, right? From aging as well as employees you talked about that are working in companies and so forth. So they started asking us for solutions for those different markets. And so along the way, we broadened that. And we also broadened the functionality from just the physical and health indicators to also mental health. And that's a big deal in, for example, in the schools here in the States. And so we've added functionality to address that as well. So we have multi-stakeholder groups now.
So could you elaborate on the mental health side? So what
Sure.
function do you have about?
So talk a little bit more about the functions that we have for the consumers that you were talking about. So for instance, our original target was the seniors, but by working with the businesses, with health insurances, with insurance, we were able to offer different things like getting their ID card in the app, doing claims through the app, seeing where their claims are processed, all that through the app. So the app now is not just a place for you to see your health, but it's to see all the different aspects of how you manage your own health, especially through health insurances or employee benefits programs. And by integrating with that, the app now becomes something for everyone. And as you mentioned, we also are partnering with schools through a program with the NFL Players Association. They're going into the schools and they're providing mentors. And our app is actually going to those schools as well. And it's the key app that they use in order to engage with those students. And what we do is we also engage with them by asking them questions like, how do you feel today? We have a little AI in the background as well. So for instance, if they one of the mentors is a Dallas Cowboy player, maybe it will ask, hey, there's a game tomorrow. Who do you think is going to win? And by engaging with the student and getting feedback from the students, we can tell their mental health status. So are they anxious? Are they depressed? Looking at their activity level, because we also find that a lot of times depression will have a decrease in activity, and different indicators like that. We can help to better understand where a student is and what their mental health is.
Cool. So with the mental health perspective, so this app should be, for the old people, all ages of genders of people. Ah, that's good. And also the mental health is a huge problem in Japan. And also we need to conscious about the employee well-being or workplace well-being. So body can help with these things. And I've heard so you've already contact with Japanese company or Japanese government. So how do you see the Japan as an opportunity?
We're very excited to be working in Japan because we feel that the Japanese people, the Japanese market, really understand the need for what we have to offer. And they're open to that, and they see the benefits that can bring into the population. And it's quite a large aging population as well in Japan. And so it helps in all levels, as you mentioned, from mental health to the caregivers' well-being to also those that are being cared for. So the culture is ripe for our product set. And so we're very excited to be entering into the market.
Yeah, we're so dedicated to get into the Japanese market that we actually acquired a company from Sampo that was based out here in the U.S. called Sampo Horizon in order for us to start to partner and to get in there into the Japanese market. But then since then, we've now worked with other partners, as you mentioned, some government prefectures, as well as other private entities and insurances to help us get into the Japanese market.
That's really amazing. So how do you feel after you go to the Japan or Japanese market? Do you have any insights on that?
Well, we found there's some unique similarities and differences. Even in the term insurance is looked at a little differently in Japan, whereas we have health insurance and then life insurance here in the U.S. and Japan. A lot of that function is in the life insurance space, and so we're learning more about the organization of the how it's delivered and the delivery in Japan. And so that's something that we want to be careful and attuned to as we go into Japan. But a lot of the approach and attitude towards caregiving and the care for the seniors, the culture of care is just very they're very attuned to that in Japan. So we found that also be the case.
Did you find something different perspective?
Yeah, what being the CTO, I always look at things from the technical side, and there was a lot that we have to do in terms of localization, and that's different in the Japanese market. Not just changing the app for to Japanese language, but also the way that the app is used and the usability of the app itself. For instance, in the US market, there's usually just very little icons and it's very sparse. But the Japanese like actually a lot of information. And so to change the apps to have the information more forefront for the user and to get access to that information a lot quicker, and the way that the app is used itself, we had to learn and localize for the Japanese market.
And privacy also is a great issue. We wanted to make sure that we, it's all when you're going into a new market, it's always about building trust, and we want the marketplace to have the trust that we are cognizant of the need for privacy and the concerns there, as well as balancing that with the concern for care. So,
do you think the Japanese too much care, caring too much on the privacy than US for us a company?
My personal feeling
Yeah.
is that one can never be too concerned about it, because privacy is privacy, and I think we all deserve a certain level of privacy, but at the same time, be able to let go of the information when it needs to be. So, for instance, when an accident really happens, when the emergency is there, that help is going to be on its way. But if there's no emergency, you don't need to know. And so, in that respect, here in the States and in Japan, we've done pretty much that, is try to be everything as private as possible. We never sell any information. Nobody gets access to the information unless there is an emergency. And in fact, when we're in Japan, we have localized servers. So everything is only in Japan, never crosses the sea, never comes over here. And so that we make sure that everything is protected and everyone's data is protected.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that. So we can use with safely products. So other things, what I just researched for the how many people use the smartwatch now. So what I found is, positive side is they are using for their health. So they want to be in a good health. Right? Over 60% who use the watches. But regarding the how many people, so unfortunately there is only maybe 10 to 50% of people. How do you think about it? So it's less than the 20 or 25% in the US. Is it a challenge for you?
I don't think so. Again, I think it's going to go up, especially as the younger population grows older and are growing up with it. I just have a 10-month-old daughter, and she is never going to know what a typewriter is. She's only going to know how to swipe. And she's already swiping. And so at her age, the watch is going to be basic, and wearable devices are going to be basic. And the form factor is going to change as well. I don't think it could be a watch. It could be a glasses. It could be a belt. It could be some, if Elon Musk happens, a chip in our brain. But no matter what the hardware is going to be, there's got to be software to run it, and that's where we're going to be at. And our software and our algorithms are only going to get better and better in order to help to predict and prevent things from happening.
I totally agree with that. So I have the 8 years old boy, and he's grown up with PC or smartphone already. And I was shocked. I have the Mac, and it doesn't have the function of the swipe. But he used to do swipe, so he think I can do that. Yeah. So always it has a kind of dirty. Yeah, he's trying to swipe on the Mac.
But by the same token, we also realize that, technology itself isn't the end all be all. It takes technology and the human touch together to create good health and well-being. And so that's just part of our philosophy. And that really matches the Japanese concern for the entire health ecosystem, not just the technology itself, but the entire community. And so right from the get-go, when we established our company, we wanted to have that holistic view of the entire ecosystem, and both the technology and also the high-touch human components that come into play. And so that's been central to what we do.
We found that a lot of people aren't using the watch, aren't using these things because they don't know how to understand the data behind it. And there's so much data that's happening, but is it good or is it bad? I can see my heart rate, but what does that mean? And so that's where we found that we have to have that high tech with the high touch. And we have programs that combine them both to give the doctors the right information so that they can interpret it for the patient. And together, they can create programs and treatments for the benefit of their own health.
That's really great insight. So because we are in the Silicon Valley, so we always talk about the tech, right? But it's more important who is user, right? So who is the people? So there's many people in the ecosystem, health ecosystem. We need a lot of people involved. and caregiver, nurse, doctor, etc. So that's a really great insight.
Yeah, it's even myself. I use all these different sensors, and I had a continuous glucose patch on to test it, and I was like, okay, I'm getting this reading, but is it high? Is it low? And then there's a range, and what does all that mean? But then I talked to our chief medical officer. He's like, oh, you're okay. This is what it means. Okay. Yeah.
Sure, interesting. So how about the future plan? So you have a lot of functions already, and you go to Japanese market, and maybe some adjustment needed. But how do you create in the 3 or 5 years later? So what is your target? What is your dream?
Yeah, in the short term, we are looking for more partners, and distribution and market adoption is important to us, as well as the co-collaborators and co-piloting, co-developing things that are specific for use cases in the marketplace. That's important for us, as well as partners to help us integrate with different systems, employee health systems, different things like that. So all of these things in the near term are important to us, and then long term, we really want to, in my mind, and you can throw in your thoughts there too, we want to lower the cost of healthcare and really give people that peace of mind they deserve, but keep it affordable so it doesn't break the bank, because healthcare costs continually arise, and we want to do that both for the system and for the end users. So.
Yeah, and really changing the model from reactive care to predictive care is our vision. And for instance, and making it fun. So for instance, we were talking about predicting falls. The way that we do that is we monitor a person's gait, and everybody has a normal gait. And when it starts to change over a certain period of time, we then send out alerts saying you're becoming a fall risk. Right now in America, in order to be deemed a fall risk, you usually fall. And then you go to the doctor, and the doctor gives you a cane and walker. But now we can tell months, if not years in advance, that you are getting the bioindicators of becoming a fall risk. We can send out the alert to go to the doctor, get evaluated. The doctor will then evaluate you and give you a cane and walker. But if you're like my dad, he would never use a cane and walker. He said, never use it. So what we did is we created a little Bluetooth device that goes on the cane and walker, and it can tell when you're using the cane and when you're not. And you get points for using the cane and walker, and then you can redeem those points for Amazon gift cards and different rewards. And thus it promotes the use of the assisted walking device. And that's the way that we're trying to promote the preventative side. So predict and prevent that fall from even happening. And hopefully then they don't fall, and they don't have to go through a hip replacement, and they don't have to go through all the pain and suffering. And also the cost of all of that doesn't have to hit the healthcare system.
Sometimes I like to explain our vision in terms of one of my favorite movies, which is Iron Man. And, he has Jarvis and he has his Iron Man suit. And I like to say that Buddy is the first step to enabling everybody to have their own little Iron Man suit that'll give them the freedom to just do what they want to do in life. So.
Yeah, as you mentioned, the kind of the function of gamification. So I'm really agree with that. So every person like game. So doing not only doing the walking, but it's good for health and also good for our wallet. So gamification is a great function.
We find that the seniors like the gamification not for themselves, but then they can earn rewards for their grandkids and family members. So
we're actually seeing increased activity levels because they want those points. And so, okay, I'm going to go walk a little bit more to get that point to get the gift card so I can buy a gift for my granddaughter.
Yeah, and it leads to their health. So it leads to preventive. Oh, that's amazing. So I want to wrapping up this conversation. So yeah, it's kind of the personal thing. So you both have a lot of kind of hobbies or different faces. So it's also you are the violinist, artist, and you rap dance, martial arts, etc. So and Daniel, you love baseball, basketball, and also car racing. So it's a how to combine these your loved things to your life. So I mean, as entrepreneurs, it's a busy, and you need to always thinking about your company or your product. So how to combine these things, as for the well-being.
They may seem disparate activities, but they actually, when we are able to step out of one thing, if we're thinking about a business problem all day and then step in a different context, it sometimes helps us reframe the problems in our mind and gives us new insight that we might not have thought of otherwise, just being stuck looking at the trees and then we see the forest. So just moving from different contexts and getting that break is very helpful in actually problem solving in the entrepreneurial space, because we can see things through different frames of reference, and that different lens helps us give different new light on certain business problems or technology problems that we're facing. So it really is mutually reinforcing. So we find that in our company, taking the time not just to work hard but also to play hard and recreate, it allows us to rejuvenate and revitalize and recharge in a way that gives us the ability to move forward faster. So we really are firm believers in that aspect of the.
So do you do something for the employees to change their mind during the workplace? During they are.
Oh, we've done a lot of fun outings.
we do a lot of different things.
Yeah.
But one of the biggest things we have bean bags in our office.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times we'll walk in and we'll see like the developers on the bean bags sleeping. And we're like, are you sleeping? But they're actually thinking about stuff and trying to figure it out. But we believe in balance and being able to also decompress helps to also work harder. So with that balance, giving the employees different ways to express that and their opportunities. We have a very good work-life balance. Everyone feels like a family. They bring their kids in, and it's I bring my dog into work, so it's just all about working hard and playing hard.
I have my violin at work, so I play it when I need to think through something creatively differently.
Oh, that's amazing. So your employee can do everything they want at the office. That's really great. So how about the other habits? So if you want to, if you feeling bad, so what do you do for your well-being? So it's a kind of habit or routine for you.
Well, I believe in continuously learning, and so recently I picked up a habit just to help me in meditating and clearing my mind. I picked up. I'm starting kayaking, so I go kayaking, and just to be out in nature, quiet, being with nature, seeing and being aware of different things there. It's very meditative and very refreshing and relaxing to do that, and that's something I'm learning to do now. So. Yeah.
My habit is just to take some time for myself every day, and to do something, whether that's walking the dog, reading, just driving somewhere just for scenery, but just making sure that I take the time to decompress and to have that balance.
That's nice. That's really great. Anyway, so thank you for taking time today, and I'm really looking forward to use your body as I am. I am not suits. Yeah, each of them.
Thank you.
Thank you
for having us.
Thank you.